Hey y'all, it's Tishan, aka Nine Coins, here on YouTube. Thank you for tuning in to another video. I have here the Antique Blacks of Rootworkers Tarot by Dogon Kriega. This is something that has been intriguing me for a while, but I never bought it, haven't bought it yet because it is fairly pricey for me. It retails at $100 on Etsy and on the artist's website. Um, but because with Christmas and my birthday just passed, I received lots of monetary gifts. And so I, I used those monetary gifts to indulge myself a little bit. And so I thought this would be a good opportunity to give this deck a try. It comes in a beautiful presentation here. What I want to do today is do, I guess, just a brief walkthrough for those who also may be interested in something like this, because, and I think it's especially important, especially like when we talk about more expensive decks, that you want to be sure, like as a consumer, you want to be sure that you're getting what you expect, that you have a thorough view of like the cards and the illustrations and if it's a good fit for you. So I'm hoping that this video also helps others who may be interested in this deck as well. Um, I'm holding here the guidebook. Um, I'll go through that in a minute. The cards do come like divided in two, which is not really my preference, but it's not that bothersome either. Um, and this is, it's called the tarot. You can see here the consequences of dividing a deck. Right here, got a little bit of warping. So this is a tarot. It's 78 cards. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk, but it is 78 cards, 22 major arcana, and the 40, was it 22, 44? You do the math. It's 22 major arcana, 22 major arcana, and then the minor arcana, four suits, and four court cards in each suit. In this deck, you have your suit of arms, which is your swords. You have your suit of lights, which is wands, your suit of jars, which is cups, and your suit of roots, which is earth. But we'll talk about like the ways in which it connects to traditional tarot, the ways in which it differs in a lot of different ways. The guidebook here is pretty straightforward. It starts with the minors and then goes in and ends with the majors. And then you have brief, like it's really simple. You have keywords. There's not any long, extensive explanation of what you're seeing, but there is a brief description of what's on the card and any other pertinent details, and then keywords for the divinatory meanings. The suit of roots, I think, is the only suit that has like a mention of the type of herbs that are depicted. And I think it's because of that particular suit being of earth. The court cards are chaps, cousins, grandfathers, and grandmothers. Okay, so the biggest difference that, oh my God. Hmm. I'm noticing some like minor blemishes on the card. Sorry, y'all. I don't know if you can see that, but it looks like a misprint of a shadow of the jars and the symbols here. I don't know. It doesn't quite bother me, but I'm just noticing that. It's almost the like oh, this is what I'm seeing. Okay. So it's foiled in gold, and this is actually being reflected in the front of this card, which is interesting because the cardstock is really thick. So that's interesting. So just a note if you're particular about that type of thing. It is kind of a rose petally finish too, which feels really good. Not everyone's a fan of rose petal, but I like it. All right, because at first I thought I was like, oh my gosh, did I stain these with my dirty ass fingers? But no, it's something to do with the actual card itself. But anyway, um, so the major arcana are actually very different from the uh, traditional tarot major arcana, in that instead of following the fool's journey, we're following the journey of the root worker. And I really think that this concept is really interesting. You know, Doga and Krika really set out to create a deck that is for root workers. So you're centering the experience of someone who does these types of workings and is involved in this world, which is really cool. And so the major arcana has archetypes and metaphors that really directly speak to the world of the root worker. So we here have at 00, the root worker. And here we have the man at the crossroads. So here's where I'm like, there are times where I feel compelled to connect the major arcana to the major arcana listed here to the major arcana in the traditional tarot. And the more I try to do that, the more I feel like I drive myself crazy. You're not going to see your typical correspondences for, so for example, in other tarot decks where they change the names of the major arcana, you can see the relation, right? Like if you call the magician the sorceress or something, like, oh yeah, because they're kind of the same thing, but just, a different name or a different take on the meaning of the card. In this deck, you're not really seeing, I'll just give you these are the backs. You're not really seeing like that type of correlation. However, sometimes you do. So for example, 2 would be the high priestess, but here it's the prophet. Like, okay. 3, however, is usually the empress, but here it's the preacher man. So there's not really a lot that you can correlate. So it's almost like for me, I feel like I have to throw what I know, not throw what I know about the major arcana of the traditional tarot out the window, but just free myself up into this new way of presenting the major arcana. So you have the preacher man, the 2-headed doctor, which I love, the boo hag, another aspect in root worker culture for sure. Actually, for those who don't know, let me find the boo hag in the book. Let me see. Right, yeah, a specter in the form of a woman climbs into a bed. Divinatory meanings, disturbances, hexing, intranquil spirits, nightmares, causing your own problems, inviting bad company, untrustworthiness, things that aren't what they seem. Beware of the boo hag, y'all. The church house. And honestly, too, like if I were given these archetypes, I probably, and if this was my deck, I probably would have reordered them to make, because they all feature, like the major arcana here do resemble the major arcana depicted in the tarot, mainly because the traditional tarot captures these very universal archetypes. So you're going to find those themes here, but they're just in a different order. So for example, even though the boo hag is at 5, where usually the Hierophant is, I would imagine the boo hag is somewhere like at number 15, where the devil card is, but it's there. The church house, I don't know, could be seen as like the tower, So it's the archetypes are there, they're just in a different form, centering the root worker's journey. The graveyard. The crossroads, which is different from the man in the crossroads. The railroad. Yes, the river. The woods. Like for me, the woods, it reminds me of the moon card. Blessing. Cursing. Money drawing. And I love how, like, within these root working cards, it does tell you ingredients. So, for example, for money drawing, where is it? A hand holds cinquefoil root, five-finger grass, cinnamon, a green candle, and a $2 bill. So those are your ingredients right there. Love drawing. Success. Mastery. Protection. Uncrossing. I like the arc that's happening here. Justice is at 20. And I feel like justice is a big part of the root worker / hoodoo tradition for sure. And the ancestors, the last, which is usually the world card. And here we have the swords or arms. So here's where you're going to see more traditional RWS interpretations in the minors here. Dogon Krika is a collage, an analog collage artist. I was checking out their website, and they are very busy in Columbia, South Carolina, with gallery exhibits. A lot of the artwork and the cards are available as prints as well, I believe. And they were also up for sale in the gallery and different exhibitions over the last couple of years as well. Seven of Arms. No, he is not hiding a gun behind his back. I mean, this is dope and scary at the same time. Nine of Arms. Ten of Arms. So here we have a vision of what looks like an ocean, a sea. Here you are with the Chap of Arms. So what I noticed upon first looking through the court cards is the court cards are described in the book not as people, but as concepts. And usually in the traditional tarot, they are both. They can be both people. So it makes it easy when you're doing readings to incorporate readings that involve other people. Like you can talk about like, hey, this person is, I don't know, coming to tell you something or something like that. But the way that the courts are described, yes, it says a child standing in the breeze lifts their jackets to reveal a small firearm tucked in their waist. The divinatory meaning is not about a person, it's more about the metaphor of what this image represents. So eagerness to act, vigilance, guarded secrets, spying. So I'm not quite sure. I feel like I have to work with this deck a bit more to see how that affects my readings, to be honest. But yeah, just something interesting to note. Cousin of Arms. I love that there's a cousin in this suit and that they're kind of like They represent the fiery knight energy, because it's almost like in every family you always got that one cousin that you go to who will fight for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. That's just me, but uh, you know, you're like, I'm gonna tell my cousin, da, 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 you know. But anyway, cousin of arms, grandfather of arms, sitting on top of books. The grandmother of arms is a slightly different from the meaning of the Queen of Swords. It says mourning, as in grieving, widowhood, infertility, spirits of the dead, hexing. So this is a very like ominous card here. Your Ace of Jars. I have a cat instead of a lion for the Two of Jars. Three of Jars. Four of Jars. Yeah, very similar to the RWS and the minors, which I guess makes things a bit easier, but then you're still, I'll talk about it later. Your chap, your cousin, your grandfather. Let me just look up the grandfather of jars. Real quick. Stoicism, emotional balance, vices, coping mechanisms, stability, fairness, creative skills. Grandmother of jars, divination, scrying, fortune telling, wisdom, psychic ability, emotional intelligence, nurturing, honesty, clarity. So I feel like, yeah, okay. Ace of Lights. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if this is going to bother me. Like the shadow of the foiling. I didn't notice it last night, but like, I don't know. Is this going to be a problem? I don't know. Two of Lights. Three of Lights. Let me look that up real quick. A person sits at a table receiving a bone reading from a diviner. Divination, discovery, revealing secrets and hidden information, consulting a professional before making decisions. So this is interesting because usually in the Three of Wands is more of like you've already decided and you're confidently going outward. And Two of Wands is where you are perhaps using the opportunity to clarify, make sure it's the right decision, and those types of things. So let me read Two of Lights. Planning, deciding a course of action, contemplating lofty goals, fire spirits. Interesting. I recognize this image from Ancestral Healing Tarot. You know, yeah, This image, I think, was part of a larger image that was featured in another collage deck, the Ancestral Healing Tarot. I think this was the Ten of Cups, was in the Ten of Cups card. Um, but it was surrounded, like they were surrounded by a crowd of people cheering them on. So it definitely has a different connotation here. I mean, similar but different. But it's like, this is for me, the what you need to what I need to think about rather when I continue like collecting collage decks in particular, because you'll start to see similar source material in the different decks. Seven of Wands is interesting. This person is like, I swear to goodness, is in like almost every single collage deck. Like I finally I looked her up. This is Gladys Bentley. She is a Harlem Renaissance entertainer. She is known for her brazen masculinity in her performances. So, just in case you wanted to know, and you've also come across this person in tarot decks several times, this is who she is. And the book doesn't mention her name either. I really would like it if, like, if you're pulling from people who are like, if you're using sources from people, images of famous people or well-known people, that you mention it in your guidebook. Cousin of Lights, Grandfather of Lights, Grandmother of Lights, Ace of Roots, There's a lot of symbolism, but you're gonna have to look closely. So there's so many details that I feel like I have to like zoom in to really figure out every element that's in the card. Five of Fruits. I love this. Seven of Roots, planting. I love this too. Your Eight of Roots, mastering that green thumb. Nine of Roots. The grass is green where she steps. I love it. 10 of Roots. All the generations right here. The chap. Cousin. Grandfather. And your grandmother of Roots. Let me just read Grandmother of Roots real quick. Also, the order of the courts as they're laid out in the deck is different from the guidebook. So just FYI. Like, Suit of Roots is listed first, when in the deck it is put last. Grandmother of Roots. An elder sits on a throne clutching a large root. She is surrounded by rabbits, roots, and flowers. Groups depicted: Orris root, Adam and Eve root, and roses. Divinatory meanings: love drawing spells, fertility, generosity, procreation, emotional wisdom, marital wisdom. Okay, yeah. Got it. Right, so this is the Antique Blacks tarot. Um, I won't do a sample reading only because um, I feel like I need to do a little something special before reading with this deck, like a little bit of cleansing. It just seems like it carries a lot of lofty uh and unwieldy themes and energies, and I don't know. I felt that way about the Voodoo Tarot as well. What can I say? My first impressions is that this is not a tarot. um, I think for me to be successful in working with this deck, that I need to release myself of confining my understanding of traditional tarot to this deck. I need to be more expansive and be able to be open to what this thing is called, the root worker's journey, And I think it's really interesting to be able to incorporate those themes in these readings. This is However, this is not for someone that is new to hoodoo and root working, or someone who wants to learn more about it, because the guidebook really does not give you a lot of information about what you're seeing. Um, and so, to that end, I would say I would say the mass market hoodoo tarot might be a better resource for people who are wanting to learn more about this tradition. Um, I think this is for people who have been practicing hoodoo, who have a working knowledge of it already, and that they're using this deck to further immerse themselves in the work and in the culture. I myself do not consider myself a root worker. I mean, I dabble. I do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I pretty much stay in my lane. I don't overreach. I don't lean into what I'm not confident in leaning into. And when I need to, I consult people who know more than me. That's kind of how I work in that regard. But I am genuinely interested in about hoodoo culture because it's a part of my culture as an African American. And so I'm glad to have this deck. I'm a little worried about this blemishing here. So if you have this deck, please, 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 let me know if you've had this problem as well, because that'll tell me if my deck is especially flawed, or if this is just something that happens with all the decks, and I can either keep it or reach out to the creator for another deck. Also, too, what I've been thinking about, and this is something. I don't know. I mean, I feel like when it comes to Grandma Baby's Black and Gold Lenormand, that I don't feel the need to pair it with anything else. But if I were, like, I really feel like these two are beautiful um, together. Um, and so just also offering that as well. The themes are very similar. Both are very rooted in African American culture and early 20th to mid 20th century imagery. Um, and so I think thematically and aesthetically, these would be a great pairing. However, I am not pressed, and they also feel similarly. I wonder if both these decks have been printed at the same printing house, because they have the same like quality, down to the rose petal finish, down to the thickness of the cards, for sure. But I'm not really inclined to pair these with anything else. But um, if I were, and I were trying to get creative with my readings, I think these would be it for sure. Also with my own Adinkra Oracle for sure. So, and yeah, it's these are kind of a really great match. So I'll just say that as well. So yeah, so that's pretty much all I have for you. Let me know what you think of this deck, and if my video has helped, let me know that too. I always try to be helpful. And if you like this video, please give me a like, leave a comment, and if you haven't already, feel free to subscribe. And thank you so much for those who have subscribed so far, and thank you for being here with me. And yeah, that's all I got. Have a great week, y'all. Bye bye.